set review, or breakdown rather, but nevertheless. Hello and welcome everyone to today's belated set breakdown. This one's probably going to be like 2 weeks late or something. I was planning to get it out on time, but then a lot of things came up during the time that I was supposed to record this, and I haven't been able to sit down with it until right now, which is the evening of Christmas Day 1. So, you know, that's just how things roll. I hope you still enjoy this. Honestly, I know I say this every time I do it late. I say it again and again that I'm going to try to be on time next time, but I think I should be able to be on time with the next one. It's like somewhere in mid-January, so it should be possible, but we'll see how that goes. But normally it should be okay. But we're going to go over this set. I'm going to introduce the markers as we go over the clans as well. I'm going to try to be quite quick about it as well, so that we don't go, you know, into the 1 hour fields, but rather stick to the half an hour fields. So let's just jump into it. As always, we're going to go from my least favorite clan to most favorite clan, and we're going to be beginning this time with Gold Paladin. So I think Gold Paladin I start liking a lot more with the next set, but this set, it's good, it's very nostalgic for me, but I like the way that the other two clans play a lot more, actually. So, our main card for Gold Paladin is going to be one of the ones that gets 4 different rarities, which is Blonde Azel. It actually gets a 5th rarity in the next set, but for now, let's just take a look at the ones that we have in English, so the VR and the SVR. So, he has, obviously, the Axel marker, and in hand he has the Act skill. If you have Beaumains and Gareth on your Vanguard or Regard circles, you may Soul Blast one Kirf from your soul, then write him as Stand from your hand, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 2 or less, he gets -1 drive check until end of turn. So, you can superior ride. If you go first, your opponent will be on grade 1 when you superior ride this, and with the new Platina Azel and also a lot of the new Platina Azel, you can actually negate that -1 drive check, but I wouldn't have known that at the time of this coming out in Japanese, so you know, this is just knowledge that we know for now. But even just with that, it's a pretty nice skill. It doesn't cost counterblast, but you can only basically do it once per game because you have to Soul Blast a very specific target, which you only run one of, which is your starter, or at least you usually run one of, because it's going to be hard to Soul Charge it any other way, and you're not going to run 4 just to keep riding grade 0s, you know, which is kind of weird, but that's just something, you know, to think about. But he makes up for that to some extent with a second skill, which is Vanguard only. When he attacks, you can call a card from your hand to Rearguard circle for no cost as well. So it's nice, you know, you just you don't +1, but you plus from the skills that happen when you call something, which is basically all the other cards we're going to be taking a look at in this video. So he's kind of like the backbone of the deck, but in my opinion, he doesn't become the backbone until the next set. Then we have the grade 2 that makes him happen, which is Beaumains, or Boma. So, when placed Vanguard or Rearguard Circle skill, you have to discard a card, well, you may discard a card, and you search your deck for a Gareth, call it to Rearguard Circle, and shuffle your deck. So again, doesn't cost counterblast or soul, but you do have to discard a card, which is pretty heavy in an Axel clan. And then his second skill is, when you call him from another card's ability, he gets +3k until end of turn, thus making him a 12k beater, which is pretty alright, considering again, it doesn't cost any other, you know, cost. But anyway, he doesn't shine that much on his own, so let's just keep on moving. Up next is the origin rare for the clan, which is Vivian. So she's really good actually. So when you place her from hand on Vanguard or Rearguard circle, you counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, look at the 3 cards from the top of your deck, call a card from among them to Rearguard circle, put the rest in the bottom of your deck in any order, and this unit gets +3k until end of turn. So Azel does trigger this because he calls from hand, so that's, you know, that's really nice that finally we have a way to trigger call from hand skills outside of the main phase for once. So that's actually really, really nice to see. And her cost is fine because the clan doesn't really counterblast that much. And on top of that, it's basically like a Bluish Flames card that just, you know, searches for anything, doesn't have any grade restrictions, nothing. It just costs counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, and that makes her really, really nice. Up next is the card that was revealed in the BCS in Germany, which is Sagramore. So when placed from hand on Vanguard or Rearguard circles, he also has the Axel marker. You may Soul Blast 1 to draw a card and call a card from your hand to Rearguard circles. So if you call him with your Azel, then you can Soul Blast 1 to draw 1 and call something else. And if you call another Sagramore, you can do that again until you run out of soul, which the deck does pretty fast until the next support, so that's another point to make. But the card is really good because you get an extra card in your hand, and on top of that you get a potential extra attack if you call him in the battle phase. So that's definitely very cool, and it makes it a bit more interesting in the way that you can make your combos with the clan, and I like him quite a lot for that. Up next is White Hair in the Moon's Shadow Pelennor. So this Pelennor is really nice in my opinion. He's part of that really good budget deck right now for Gold Paladin where you don't actually play Azel, you just play Pelennor and one of the common grade 3s we're going to look at a bit later. But his first skill doesn't matter that much, so in hand at the end of the battle your rear guards attack hit a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, so it relies on your rear guards hitting your opponent. You may Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 3 to write him as stand from your hand, but he loses 1 drive check. So potentially you get an extra attack from your Vanguard, so you would do this after your Vanguard has already attacked. So it's a play, but it's pretty expensive in terms of soul, because it's kind of hard to get that soul requirement right now, and a lot of other cards want that soul instead, like the Sagramore we just looked at. But second skill is Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle that your rear guard attacked a Vanguard, you can Counterblast 1 to return that unit to your hand. So that makes this card really nice because you can just write it, get an Axle marker, and then just keep bouncing your attack targets, and then you have some cards that actually call from hand when they attack, thus making a sort of loop if you can manage it, and if you can actually get the countercharger, which we're going to go into pretty soon. Then obviously the perfect guard is going to be Mark. This is very much like the most iconic Gold Paladin perfect shield, so I don't think many people were that surprised. Then we have Nemean Lion, who used to be the 8k extra shield gainer, but he still gains extra shield, so now he's on Vanguard, Rearguard, and Guardian Circle. When placed from hand, he gets plus 3k power in terms of attack power and plus 5k defense. So, you know, he's still kind of the same thing. Some people play him in the budget variant because you can actually, you know, place him pretty consistently and not, like, you don't have to use up your only call from hand with Azel because you have other ways to call from hand. So pretty nice, but he's not played that much. A card that is, however, played quite a bit is Lop-Ear Shooter. I like him quite a bit because he has that hand skill. At the end of the battle, your grade 2 or greater Vanguard attack, so grade 3 or grade 4 works too, so this is good in premium. You may Counterblast 1 and call him from hand to Rearguard Circle, and he gets plus 5k power. So just when your opponent thought that you wouldn't have any more attacks left, and you know they feel like they're safe to go into their next turn, you whip out one of your Lop-Ear Shooters, and maybe even you have 2 or something, and you just deal the finishing blow. You can call this on your Axle circles and everything, so it's at least a 24k attacker, and that makes it very, very nice, so I do like him quite a lot for that. Then we have Hogun, Vanguard and Rearguard Circle skill. When your Vanguard's attack hits, you can look at the top card of your deck, and you can call a card with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from among them to one of your other Rearguard Circles. But if you called something, then you have to retire him on your Rearguard Circle. It doesn't have to be specifically him, so if you have 2, you can retire a different one. Let's say that one is resting and this one isn't. But regardless, it's a good skill, but it requires the Vanguard's attack to hit and only checks the top 1, but I think I still see quite a lot of people play it. Then we have the Countercharger in Listener of Truth Dindrain. So when placed by your card's ability, you may Soul Blast 1 to either draw a card or to countercharge 1 and give her plus 3k. So depends which one you prefer. I think in the budget build you do the countercharge more often, but in the Azel build I actually don't know. I guess with the new support you would be doing the countercharge too, huh? But I guess if you need extra cards you're going to draw extra cards because things like Bombing actually just discard, so you do need to make up for that somehow. So I guess this is probably the best way to do that. Then we have Max/Dragon, which is the budget grade 3 that I meant. So this is Vanguard Rearguard Circle skill. When it attacks, you may Counterblast 1 to call a card from your hand to Rearguard Circle, and this unit gets plus 5k until end of battle. So really simple but good skill. Does cost a Counterblast every time and does not have an Axle marker, so that's a bit of a problem, but I think it's still really good because you have Dindrain to refund those Counterblasts, and you can still push out several extra attacks per turn, which is pretty big in Standard especially. In Premium this wouldn't do that much I think, but in Standard I think it's a really nice card for that budget Gold Paladin deck, and I'm thinking of doing a video on it too, so you know, potentially stay tuned for that. Then we have Knight of Heroism Tornus, who doesn't fear the lost memes apparently. So he has a continuous Rearguard Circle skill. If your soul has 1 card, he gets plus 3k power, but if you have no soul, he gets plus 8k instead of 3. So 17k attacker is good against, well, Protect clans, which are very popular, and quite a few Axle clans that are getting more popular too. So this is pretty good. You know, it works better in Azel at the moment because you run out of soul really easily, so you can kind of profit off of that, but it's a bit of a strange card because you have to play around it almost, so if you have more than 1, he's just a vanilla, so that's a little bit unfortunate, but he's still a pretty good card in the deck right now at least. And finally for Gold Paladin we have Knight of Elegant Skills Gareth. So when placed by your card's ability, you may counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 10k until end of turn. So Bowmain does trigger this, so if you call him from the deck, then you can actually give him a plus 10k, so that's actually quite good. But apart from that, you know, he's just good at making columns, he's a good attacker, you can call him on an Axle Circle to make for a 28k attacker, just overall very nice. And also I forgot at the start of this segment to show you the 2 markers that the clan gets, so here's the Corrin one, and then here's the Azel one that you get as a box topper, and that's actually going to be it for the Gold Paladin segment. So I think the clan's good, the budget variant is better right now, but Azel is going to get much better once the Raven-haired Azel comes out in V-EB03, but that's going to be in a few months. So for now, I think you're probably better off just picking up the Azels and letting them sit there while you play the budget variant. So moving on. Moving on to number 2, we're going to have Neo Nectar, and before anything else I want to show you the plant tokens. So this is the new mechanic for Neo Nectar. I'm going to go over it as we go through the cards, but these are the tokens that come in the booster set. So these are placed separately from your main deck. They're put next to the gift marker zone, but they're basically just another way of, you know, just placing your tokens and stuff. So there's 2 types. I like the flower one more than the cherry tomato one, or tulip rather, I guess it is. But yeah, so the rose one looks much nicer in my opinion. But we'll go over what these do and how they're generated in just a bit. First, here are the 2 markers. So here's the Rekka one, which I think is pretty nice looking. Rekka's voice actress is really famous. She's Ellie from Love Live, and then she's an Angelno for those of you that know her. I think she also did some other famous character, but she's also part of Fripside, I think, so very famous, so pretty cool. Anyway, also there's a Cecilia marker that you get as a box topper, so that's worth mentioning. But now let's go over Cecilia herself. So White Lily Musketeer Cecilia also comes in 4 different rarities, and it's kind of like the 2 pictures I have of the other 2 aren't very good. Should have probably mentioned that the VRs in this set, they come in URR, which is the sign version. But then there's a rainbow URR where the sign is actually like rainbow colored. The other one is just like one solid color, so yeah, that's worth noting, I guess. But anyway, she has the Force Marker, and she has 1 skill, but it's really good. Act Vanguard Circle once per turn, you may counterblast 1 and retire a Rearguard. You look at the top 5 cards from the top of your deck, call up to 2 cards from among them to Rearguard Circles, and shuffle your deck. However, if you have grade 3 in your soul, you can call up to 3 cards instead of 2, and 3 units in your front row get plus 10k until end of turn. So really good skill. You convert 1 into 2, or you convert 1 into 3. You can also convert one of your plant tokens that will go over how you generate in a second, but really good card for generating a lot of advantage. This deck almost never calls from hand, honestly. You call a lot of your cards just from the top of your deck with skills like this, so that makes it really, really good. Now let's go over a card that makes plant tokens, which is Pansy Musketeer Sylvia. She's also the origin rare, so when placed on Vanguard or Rearguard circles, you may call a plant token to Rearguard circles. So when you call a plant token, it says in her skill, plant tokens are grade 0s with 5k power and 1 critical base and have boost. So it's just the same as any other grade 0, but that's really nice because you generate, with her, you generate a plant token for free. You just call her, you place one, that's it. And then you can retire it with Cecilia to turn it into 2 normal units. So it's also really good because usually it's an upgrade in power. Next we have Lily of the Valley Musketeer Rebecca. So when placed on Rearguard Circle, one of your other grade 1 or less units gets plus 5k until end of turn. So this can include the plant tokens too because they're grade 0s. And at the end of the turn, as a Rearguard, you can Soul Blast 1 and retire one of your plant tokens and return her to your hand. So that's really good because you can keep placing her to repeat that first skill to give something plus 5k, asking for an extra 5k shield. And then at the end of turn, you can always convert a soul into and the plant token into returning a 10k shield grade 1 into your hand and potentially guard with her next turn if you need to. So I think she's really good for that, and just overall a really nice grade 1. Next up is Maiden of Trailing Rose. She also generates plant tokens and she has the Force Marker, so when placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, call up to 1 plant token to Rearguard Circle. If this unit is on Vanguard Circle, however, you call 2 instead of 1. And then the second skill is Act once per turn. You may Soul Blast 1 and 3 of your plant tokens get plus 5k until end of turn. So this is kind of like a mini Soul Saver where you just buff up 3 things for a very small cost, but we have other cards in this set that also buff up your plant tokens, so they kind of combine to make a really strong turn in terms of power pressure. So pretty good card, but not played at very high counts because there's another grade 3 that you play instead actually. Next is Dandelion Musketeer Mirka. When placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, you may Soul Blast 1 and call a plant token to the Rearguard Circle in the same column as her. So your best ride target actually, because you just you ride her and you generate a plant token behind the Vanguard and you just leave it at that turn and that's it. So, but also good later on in the game, like you can just call her in an empty column and then retire the plant token that you create with Cecilia to make other units, so it's pretty good. You can kind of make like a whole field out of just calling one Mirka, which is pretty nice, so that's pretty good. Her second skill is when your other rearguard is placed in the same column as this unit gets plus 3k until end of turn. So when you do call that other plant token, she gets plus 3k, but then let's say if you sack the plant token and then you call something else in front of her, she'll get another plus 3k. So pretty good for that reason. I usually forget that second plus 3k if I ever call in front of her again, but that's just something worth to note, you know, just on the side. The Perfect Guard is Maiden of Blossom Rain, so the very, very old Perfect Guard for Neo Nectar from the BT05 set back in the day. And then we have Exploding Tomato, who used to be just a meme, but has now become an actually good card. So he even has the Force Marker, and he has an active Vanguard and Rearguard Circle skills. Once per turn, you may retire 2 of your plant tokens to draw a card and give him plus 10k power. That's really good because plant tokens are usually made for free, and therefore converting 2 free cards into an extra card in hand is really good, and the extra power doesn't hurt either because you're asking for more shield from your opponent and makes him a better attacker without needing a good booster behind him either. And then on Rearguard Circle, at the end of the battle if he attacked anything, you may retire him to call up to 2 plant tokens to your Rearguard Circles in the back row. So specifically in the back row, but that's good because you can generate new boosters and they can be placed on occupied circles as well. That way you're creating a new booster for one of your other attacks and you can just kind of play around with him that way, and he's pretty nice in general. Then we have Lily of the Valley Musketeer Kaivant, so this was the congratulations promo for December as well. So his skill is pretty simple. When placed, he gets plus 5k until end of turn for each of your grade 0 rearguards, so he can be a pretty big beater. You know, if you have 3 plant tokens, he's already going to be a 25k beater on his own, so it's pretty good in that case. But the last grade 2 slot will actually usually go to the Sunlight Gardens guide that's going to be a promo in the shop challenges coming up in Springfest. So for now he will be played, but later on will be replaced. But the best grade 2 in my opinion, or well, one of the best grade 2s in the deck, is Spiritual Tree Sage Irminsul. So when placed on Rearguard Circle, if you have 2 or more grade 0 rearguards, you may counterblast 1 to draw a card, and all units in the same column as this unit get plus 5k until end of turn. So once again, a really nice power buffing card. You pay 1 counterblast to get a card in hand and a plus 10k in terms of buffs. So he's really good for that reason, and overall just a very nice extra consistency fixer for the deck. And the last card that gives this kind of indirect buff to plant tokens, except this time it's pretty direct, is Fruits Basket Elf. So act Rearguard Circle, you may Soul Blast 1 and retire this unit to call up to 2 plant tokens to Rearguard Circles. So you Soul Blast 1 and retire to make 2, and if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, those plant tokens get plus 5k power until end of turn. So you turn those 5ks into 10ks, and the Mating of Trailing Rose can turn them into even more, and then the Irminsul can also give another plus 5k to both units in the same column. So pretty nice and synergizes pretty well in terms of the general power pressure. Then we have an interesting card that's not played as much. Some people do, some people don't, which is Maiden of Pure Splash. On Vanguard Circle, when placed, you may counterblast 3 to call up to 5 plant tokens to open Rearguard Circles, choose 5 of your plant tokens and they get plus 5k until end of turn for each of your grade 0 rearguards. So this is actually pretty big. Only problem is that this doesn't have a force marker, so if you're writing this, you don't get the force marker. It's just like if you really don't have any weights, like if you really need to keep all the cards in your hand, but you also want to field, I guess you're going to call this down because you're going to make 5 cards and they're all going to get a plus 25k buff because it's for each of your grade 0 rearguards. So you're going to have like 60k columns, which is pretty big in terms of that. So it's actually, you get more out of her than from a force marker, but you know, that buff doesn't stay for the whole game like a force marker does. So some people play her, some people don't. I think the deck can't really afford the counterblast to do this so freely, and counterblast 3 is just a lot, and you're already using it up beforehand, so I think it's a little bit shaky. Then we have Iris Knight, so he's a grade 2. When it is boosted, he gets plus 3k until end of turn. So stays for the turn, but doesn't really mean all that much in standard, unfortunately. So some people play him, but just for now while we don't have the promo. Then we have Spinach Advisor. when your other rearguard is placed by your card's ability, this unit gets plus 3k until end of turn. Also pretty nice, but again, I think Kaivan does this better in terms of grade 2s because of the raw power he can gain for a very easy way. So I think the spinach is also pretty alright, but it's kind of like a Bruno in Gold Paladin, but actually we do have a Bruno for Neo Nectar in Corolla Dragon, so when your other rearguard is placed by a card's ability, he gets plus 3k, or she. So this is actually nicer because you can make some space in your grade 1s to play this, but with the grade 2s it's actually really tight, so it's kind of hard. At least, maybe it's not as tight until the promo comes, but after the promo is out, it's going to be impossible to fit him in. So I think Corolla's good, but just, you know, it depends on the way that you plan to play the deck. And finally we have Knight of Prosperity Craig. My name Craig. He has a pretty simple skill, Vanguard and Rearguard Circle skill, continuous, all of your plant tokens in the same row as this unit get plus 5k power. So if he's in the back row, he gives your back row plant tokens plus 5k, but only 2. And if he's in the front row, well, that's only 1 plant token that can possibly get the buff, so you're usually going to be putting him in the back row. He looks pretty cool. I'm surprised he's not a musketeer, because he looks like a musketeer, but alas, you know, whatever floats his boat, I guess. But that's actually going to be it for the Neo Nectar support. The deck is really good in Standard. In Premium, I haven't seen it top that much, actually. I've seen some people combine it with Asha, and most I've seen Maiden of decks actually doing well, because the Maiden cards in this set are really good. But overall, like, Neo Nectar is basically tier 1 in Standard, but in Premium it's not looking as strong as it could be. But actually, Azel is looking really good in Premium, so it's kind of funny how the king of Standard in this set is like, you know, compared to the king of Premium in this set, where like they're kind of switched. But it's pretty interesting, but Neo Nectar is definitely looking very, very good. Alright, at long last, the clan that I talk quite highly of. You know, I said it's like my second favorite deck in my top 3 favorite decks video. So, I mean, not this specific deck, but the clan, you know, Angel Feather. But I was quite surprised with Angel Feather in Standard. I walked in with like the idea that maybe I won't even play the clan in Standard, because I was like, this doesn't look so fun. But then I gave it a wholehearted try and I was like, damn, it's still the same good old fun. So I was really happy about that. So let's go over all these cool cards and just see what the new support for Angels in Standard is all about. First off, here are the markers. So there's a Suiko one, which is signed, and then the Zerakiel one that you get as a box topper. So Suiko is voiced by Aimin, who's famous for Bushiroad fans, but not really outside of that. So the VR of the set, who's again available in 4 different rarities, is Zerakiel. So the 2 other rarities are again pretty blurry because they're only in Japanese, so we're going to be taking a look at the first 2. So her first skill is, during your turn, Vanguard Rearguard Circle skills, if a new card was put into your damage zone this turn, all the units in your front row get plus 3k. I guess since it's Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, that means that the buffs stack in that sense, so that's actually pretty nice because you can turn your 12Ks into 18Ks, so that's pretty good in that sense. But that's really not the skill that she shines for. It's actually her second one, which is act in the damage zone. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater and this card is face up, you may put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face down to ride her as stand. So you only get to ride her, but I mean that's what you want to do, because by essentially counterblasting from the top of your deck, you get an extra protect marker in your hand, and you get to escape the very annoying Zanbaku lock as well. So I think that's the main selling point of this card, and that's what makes her pretty damn good in my opinion. So I'm a pretty big fan of her. I think she's overall pretty solid, but she's not enough to carry the deck on her own, and that's why I was very hesitant when I saw her. I was like, this isn't all that good, but then it's actually the grade 2s that pulled me through in the end. So, but moving on, we still have more grade 3s to look at. First is the Origin Rare Metatron. So, she is the healing card in the deck, so she has the Protect marker, and when ridden from a grade 3, you may counterblast 2 to call a card from your damage zone to Rearguard Circle, and this unit gets plus 15k power until end of turn. So, you essentially counterblast 1 because you call any card from damage zone, so you may call the one that you counterblasted, and she gets plus 15k power, so she's basically like a stride. And on top of that, she has an Act Vanguard Circle once per turn. You may put a card from your damage zone on the bottom of your deck and deal this unit 1 damage, but you perform a drive check, so it's basically a rescue check. They could have just printed rescue on this thing, but I guess not. With that skill, you can also select face down damage, meaning that that first skill doesn't actually cost any counterblast, and it heals 1 damage and calls you a card. So really good card. Does have to be written on top of a grade 3, but that's pretty damn easy when you have Zerakill to help you out, so that's also pretty nice. Another thing with Zerakill is that if your opponent like Azels really fast and you just happen to have a Zerakill in your damage as like the first damage, you can just, you know, ride her up if you have another damage, that is. So pretty good. But yeah, Metatron is a really good card and just overall just perfect because you can call a lot of your important targets from the damage zone and just win the game that way. Next is Armaiti, which is the first of the grade 2s. When placed from hand on Vanguard or rearguard circles, you may Soul Blast 1 to call a card from your damage zone to rearguard circle and put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face down. So good card. It's your main grade 2 right target in my opinion because you can just Soul Blast 1 to call whatever you have in your damage zone and then you just put the top card face down, which you can call or return to deck later anyway. So it's actually not that big of a deal. You can also swap it out with one of the grade 1s, so it's really not that big of a deal, and it's just a good card because it's so toolboxy, and I like that a lot. Next up is Mobile Hospital Feather Palace. So this does have the Protect marker, and it is your main win con, in my opinion. So Vanguard and Rearguard Circle skills. When it attacks, you may Soul Blast 2 grade 3s, then face down all of the cards in your damage zone. Wow, they printed that really weird in English. It's not put all cards in your damage zone face down, but rather face down all of the cards in your damage zone. Yeah, okay, interesting. That it doesn't sound like a condition anymore because it's actually a condition for the skill. So it's like if all cards in your damage zone are face down, or it's like you put all the cards face down in your damage zone, and then until end of battle, this unit gets plus 20k and a crit, and your opponent can't call Sentinels to Guardian Circle from hand. But the point is, it's like, if you already have all your cards counterblasted, then I guess it still works with this wording. It's just so weird. I've never seen it like this before. But the main point is, this card is insane. It's a 32k attacker with an extra crit. If you get more triggers on it, it gets even bigger, and it's just insane. It also blocks PGs, so it's really good. You can call 2 of them, and just, you know, you can actually fulfill having 4 grade 3s too, because Zerakill just keeps calling herself on, riding herself over and over and over again, and then you just like ride a couple Metatrons, or even one if you're super high roll lucky, and then you get to do this insane win con. So it's really good. You don't even need to discard from hand. It's literally just Soul Blasting 2 grade 3s. This card is really good. Then we have Wild Shot Celestial Raguel. So this is the way that Angels take away from Grand Blue for once. So, when placed from hand on Rearguard Circle, if a new card was put into your damage zone this turn, you may Counterblast 1 to call a card from your drop zone to Rearguard Circle. So, you can actually pull out the Mobile Hospital with this skill and just, like, win through that if they were targeting it too much. So that's really good. I think Raguel's really nice. Obviously, downside that she has to be called from hand because, you know, the deck can call from damage zone really easily, and it's a shame that you can't trigger it this way, but it's alright. Still a really good card, and just costs the counterblast to do something pretty amazing, and I actually love her art as well. Then we have No Seal as the grade 0 Perfect Guard, so it's interesting that Battle Cupid changed into the draw trigger, so it's alright. I mean, I'm sure No Seal players don't really mind because they usually play a lot of draws, especially in the Giza variant, so it's not that big of a deal. And then we have Million Ray Pegasus, so the first of our Pegasi. So if a new card was put into your damage zone this turn, Rearguard and Guardian Circle skill, this unit gets plus 5k power or plus 5k shield. So good card because you can both have it as a 10k shield in your opponent's turn when you take damage, or have it as a 14k attacker on your turn when you swap damage. So just a good card overall, but sadly does not stack because it's a continuous skill. Then we have Underlay Celestial Hesadiel. When placed from hand onto Rearguard Circle, you may Counterblast 1 to swap a unit card from your hand with a card from your damage zone, but you have to put it face up, which is good. This does say unit card, which means that you cannot put your protect markers. If you do put a protect marker though into your damage, for example in premium, then you heal it, because protect markers cannot exist anywhere outside of the Guardian Circle or your hand. So that's pretty good, but you can't do that in standard, unfortunately. So, but it's a good card regardless, because Counterblast 1 to swap something, and you can also swap whatever you counterblasted, so you basically don't actually counterblast. So it's good, like if your main grade 2 right target, or like if you put your Zeta kills face down into the damage zone, you can just put them back into your hand, and then, you know, put them back in with another Hesadiel. So pretty good for that, and I do like her a lot. She's the only card, like I was looking through all the cards and I was like, what actually like swaps cards in your damage? And I was like, oh wait, Hesadiel exists. So that's good. This card was the make or break for me for not losing hope in the clan. Then we have 1000 Ray Pegasus. When it boosts on Rearguard Circle, if a new card was put into your damage zone this turn, you may Counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 10k until end of turn. So this makes your Feather Palace even bigger. This is already like a 50k attack without any extra triggers. That's insane. So really good card just for that, and people play it like 2 or 3 most of the time. The other 4 of grade 1 is Marking Celestial Arabaki. So on Rearguard Circle, when placed from hand, you may discard a card from your hand, so there is a discard cost, but it's not that bad. So put a card from your damage zone into your hand, and put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face down. So you can use this to fetch out any face down Zeta kills, and then put them back into your damage with Hesadiel, so that's pretty good that they work together like that. And Arabaki doesn't actually cost any counterblast, well, outside of the putting from deck to damage face down, but you can always, you know, change that. Like, counterblast is not an issue for Angels. It really is not in standard. It was maybe sometimes in premium back in the day, or like in G, but it really is not anymore. And I think even before it wasn't. So it's just, that's how the clan has always been. That's just how it is. Moving on, we have Perdurable Phoenix. So Rearguard Circle skill, also no protect marker. When your Vanguard is attacked, you may retire this unit and call a card from your damage zone to Guardian Circle and put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face down. So sadly, no trigger checks there, but you can essentially put a Perfect Guard from your damage zone into your Guardian Circle without actually having to play it from hand, so that's pretty good. I see some players play it at 1 or 2, like I've seen some recent VGCS tops where he's actually being played, so I might give it a shot. I haven't done it myself yet, but I always like the idea of this card from the very get-go. We were already playing so many grade 3s, like the list that played this card played like 11 or 12 grade 3s, so it's pretty insane. But I mean, he does have a pretty nice skill, but it's just that the other grade 3s in the clan right now have so many good skills that it's pretty hard to choose. Next up is Essence Celestial Becca. Rearguard Circle skill, when placed, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, one of your Vanguards and this unit get +3 cancel end of turn. So nothing too flashy, just becomes a 12k attacker and gives your Vanguard a little buff as well for no extra counterblast, but you've already seen the other grade 2s in this clan, just in this set, and it's definitely not enough space for things like this. Then we have Shocking Shot Nukael. When it attacks the Vanguard on Rearguard Circle, if you have 3 or more cards in your damage zone, he gets +5 cancel into that battle. So, might be good, or like, I feel like cards that give you extra power in standard are good, but we're slowly going into that field again where cards with flashier skills are becoming better. So it's not like early standard where it was just like power and attacks that mattered. Now it's a lot more of just, you know, can you play around whatever else your opponent is throwing at you, and can you actually make bigger numbers than the opponent's defensive trigger, which is pretty unfortunate, but that's just how it is. Then we have this cute looking robot thing in Doctroid Iter. So Rearguard Circle, when its attack hits a Vanguard, you may Soul Blast 1, put a card from your damage zone into your hand, and put the top card of your deck into your damage zone face down. So it has to hit. So it's an 8k grade 2, which I guess kind of makes up for this skill, but it's not that good of a skill because it's just on hit pressure. So I think again, it's hard to fit it in just because a lot of the grade 2s are really good. The only grade 2 you could ever cut for any of these other ones is the Million Ray Pegasus, but even then I think that's a good card that you should not be cutting. And finally we have Syringe Lesser. So this is a grade 1 that some people play at like 2 or 3. So act Rearguard Circle, you may put him into your soul, and 2 of your units get +5 cancel end of turn. So that's what I mean by, you know, sometimes it's just good to give an extra bit of power. Usually this is going to go to your Feather Palaces to really make sure you deliver that end of game surgery, I guess. So he's a good card. I'm going to consider playtesting him a bit more because at first I wasn't very happy with him, but I'll see how he is and how he works out. But overall it is a good card. So Angel Feather ends up being a pretty good deck in both Standard and Premium. In Standard it's really good because it also can play around Zambaka really well, and in Premium it's good because Metatron works really well with Gize apparently, but it's not the best deck in Premium, I think. It's nowhere near because healing a few times doesn't really match what the other decks are doing right now, and like if you can't beat NLK then it's a bit harder to get going, but I think there's a good joy to Premium in just playing around with fun decks that aren't necessarily meta with your friends. So for example, I'd like to upgrade my Gavriel Ultima deck with this new stuff just to see if I can make it any better and if it can work better, you know, as more of like a gimmicky deck, but it's a really fun gimmick, and so I feel like that's quite exciting as well, and I encourage other people to give Premium a try through that kind of lens, I guess, if that makes sense. But anyway, that's gonna be it for this set breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed it despite it being so late, but Let me know what you guys think about the 3 clans in this set. Have you been excited? Are you waiting for more gold support, or for the other clans as well down the line? I feel like Angels and Neo Nectar are a finished package. Like, they're both really good clans, just with the cards from this set, and they already proved themselves in Japan, and they are already proving themselves in the English format too. So I don't really see much to worry about. So that's going to be it for me today. Don't forget to check out the second channel, as well as click the bell button, and also check out the social media in the description and join the Discord channel if you haven't already. But on that note, I'll see you guys next time and have a happy holiday. Bye bye.